Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Payton on the Radio podcast. As today we have episode 5, and today we're going to be joined by my man Pearlo Wisdom, my best pal in the YouTube land. He's going to be joining us for another episode of the podcast. It's going to be a fun one today. It's going to be a fun one. I know we just uploaded one not too long ago when I was talking about the Canucks and the Sharks. We're going to be talking all sorts of hockey once again. We're going to be talking about the Vegas Golden Knights. We are going to be discussing the Canucks again because, well, Canucks fans, they were pretty rampant on that video. They were discussing with me, disagreeing with me, and I even threw up a poll on Twitter talking about that as well. But before we get into all that, I'd like to introduce Perlo. And how's it going, my man? How's your morning going?
Good, buddy. Starting off with hockey talk, so can't be bad. Although we have snow in Edmonton now.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately, I don't. It's cold as hell up here, but no snow, surprisingly. You can still see grass out there, so I'm very, very surprised still. Especially, I live up in the north too, so it's like I'm surprised we haven't got snow yet, so I'm quite surprised. And everyone,
Wow.
before we get into the podcast as well, make sure to go check out my man Pearlo Wisdom on YouTube. Go check him out. It'll be very much appreciated. And also, guys, we got this stuff up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so go check it out. Go give it a follow. Go give it a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts as well and write a nice review, and maybe we'll talk about it on the podcast as well. And hit the like button and subscribe if you're on YouTube as well. So, let's get into talking about the very first topic of discussion here, which I think is, something I started with the last podcast, is the Canuck heads. They were really going at me in the last episode. They were disagreeing with me, saying that I'm definitely going to be wrong. Now, I put up a poll on Twitter, practically read out the video because I wanted to see, I was like, maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe I'm seeing something that the Canucks fans are seeing that I'm not seeing. So I put up a poll saying that if, I ripped on them a little bit, will this team come back or not? And the poll said this: they will come back, got voted 88.2% of the time. And nah, this team sucks, only got voted 11.8%, only 17 votes. And I gotta say, man, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this team right now. And like, what's your thoughts? Like, are you blown away by like these Canuck heads just being really optimistic about their team? Like, what do you think is going through their head?
I wasn't optimistic before the season started. They have a let's face it, they have a good top six. There's nothing wrong with their offense in their top six. But that defense is just absolutely diabolically bad. No matter how much I look at it, it doesn't change. you know, every time I go back to Cap Friendly, look at their defense, I go, yeah, no, still really bad. Still really bad. And it just so happens that is really their problem. Their actual defensemen are not good enough. And they, even if they get up, they miss assignments. They pinch too soon. You got guys like Luke Shen playing unfathomable amount of minutes. Like that is that defense is what should be maybe an expansion defense at best.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's absolutely terrible. So my thoughts are it's not going to change. Thatcher Jemko isn't playing his best, but I don't think he's playing really all that bad. I mean, if he was playing on a team that had even average defense, his numbers would probably be fine. It's all the defense in this team. It's just absolutely horrible.
I think so too. And the last game that just happened, where the Devils went up against the Canucks, and we were keeping up tabs with it because we were watching the Oilers and Preds game, but we were keeping up in tabs with the game. And when we watched the highlights, it just seemed like the Devils, which are a great offensive team, were just able to walk all over the Vancouver Canucks. And I even got a tweet because I was bringing that up to some of the Canucks fans that were commenting on the last video, saying that the defensive core is not very good. And a lot of people were bringing up the fact that, they won 2 in a row games, which, yeah, cool. You won 2 in a row games against the Seattle Kraken and the Pittsburgh Penguins, who were on a massive road trip. I don't think that's too massive of W's, especially when you got, some tough teams that are coming up with the Devils, which you unfortunately lost that one. But people are saying that, the Canucks fans think their D-core is actually better than what people suggest it is, which absolutely boggles my brain because when you do look at that defensive core, it's not very good. Sure, Luke Schen's not bad defensively, like as a defensive defenseman, but then you got Ekman Larson, Myers, Hughes, Stillman, who are not good defensively. So if you're
Mhm.
relying at one defensive defenseman as Luke Shen to be your best defenseman on the team, it's not going to end up working very well. And Demko has been showing it in his numbers where he's just hasn't been able to make the big saves that he's needing to make because his team is not playing great in front of him. It's as simply
Mhm.
put as that. You look at their depth; they don't have the greatest depth in the world. When you have Paul Colson who's not producing, Niels Hoglander's looking good, but he's not finishing. Yeah, sure, they got a great top six, but once again, this team is just not looking too well. And I was also saying this team needed to rebuild. Do you think this team could still rebuild if they're going to suck this year? Like, who should they trade away and who should they maybe focus on if they do end up sucking this bad?
Well, the one that they should have traded away, they signed
Miller.
to a
Sure.
freaking 8-year contract. JT Miller shouldn't have been. Now that you got him, I think what I think almost what they have to do to tell you is just sort of not do anything and suck because their forwards are fine. Like their top six is fine.
Yeah.
So they can still, with this team as it is right now, can suck bad enough to get really good draft picks and fill in that defense
Yeah,
and
I think that's
eventually
what you
have a
gotta
good
do.
team.
Like, I
Yeah.
think you gotta dump off Tucker Puma and clear some cap out of the team and try to like,
Who's gonna take
I don't fucking know. I don't know why they never ever signed Tucker Pullman, but they have like tons of these mediocre defensemen, which absolutely boggles my brain. Where they're paying Dermott, they're paying Pullman, and now they're paying Stillman. Like, they need to just bargain pick up these good defensemen who play really good and not just bargain pick
Yeah.
up defensemen that are mediocre. Try to get defensemen like what they did with Ethan Bear, who
Mhm.
didn't look that bad in his first night. Actually got a few minutes with alongside of Quinn Hughes that night as well. Played about 4 minutes with him and didn't look too terribly bad with him either. So now the last thing
Yeah.
is we'll kind of pick into the poll. Do you think this team will make a comeback, or are they just gonna kind of suck throughout this season?
I just think it's highly unlikely. I mean, when we talk about a defense like that, it's not like we're the only ones that know. You know, you're in that room every day and you're not allowed to say it. You're not allowed to express it really. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, except for to say our defense needs to play better. And I brought this up when there was a kind of when the sweaters were thrown on the ice, they had an answer of JT Miller and an answer of Bo Horvat. And Bo Horvat said, we haven't been good enough.
Mm-hmm.
We deserve this. Like we're not very good. In so many words, right? JT Miller basically said if they want to do, he didn't use the word stupid, but if they want to spend all that money, throw their shit on the ice, that's up to them. I've got a job to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's his answer. Well, let's dissect that for a second. First of all, he called the Vancouver Canucks jersey shit, right? Second of all, he didn't take ownership of the fact that they sucked. And um, third of all, he's not doing his job. They're not doing their job right now. He's saying, I have a job to do. He used the word I. You know what I see what I'm
Yeah, he's
saying
not
there?
saying we have a job
It's
to do.
self-central. Now, I had another person come on and sort of make a good point, although I don't agree. He said, well, Horvat said that all year last year. And I answered back, Horvat was right all year last year. You know what I mean? The defense has to play better. What is he going to say? Is he going to say our defense is not good enough? Management has to do something about it. No, he can't say that. But listen to what he's saying. Our defense has to be better.
Yeah.
And it never got better. They didn't do anything about it. Instead, they sign JT Miller to a long contract whose answers are I have a job to do. I have this. I have that. I am going to. To me, that's not a leader. I'll take Horvat all day. And by the way, Horvat's got 8 goals. Horvat is actually going, and I mean, JT Miller's got some pretty good points as well.
Oh
But
yeah.
Horvat has got 8 goals this year. And I think if you look analytically, he's playing better defensively than he has been in the past. So,
Bo Horvat's been looking really good this year, from what we've been seeing offensively from the guy, leadership wise from the guy. He's looking really, really good. And honestly, like, it sucks that
he might be priced out.
yeah, and he's yeah, exactly that, because they just signed JT Miller to a long extension instead of focusing on the guy that's been on your team since the dawn of time and is your captain. You focused on a guy that is not even your captain, not really anything on your team, is a guy that you picked up to help try to push this team towards a playoff position, and it's not even looking like they're going to be able to do that this year. That's why like extensions need to be at the right time. With Miller's age,
Mhm.
it's not at the right time for him. 8 million
Yeah.
for 7 years. That's bringing him up until he's 38. Not in the right time for JT Miller. But we've been on the Canucks long enough. I think that the fans, we've beaten them up long enough. And
Yeah.
it's not like we want the Canucks to play bad. We want the Canucks to do
Yeah.
good. We always want to see teams excel, but when we see fans look at a team and have these big expectations, we just try to mellow it out for the fans. Because when you look at the defensive
Yeah.
core, quite honestly, it's not good. It's not a good defensive core. It is what people suggest it is. It is bad. It's exactly what you
Yeah.
see on paper. It is not good.
Yeah.
Quinn Hughes is not a great two-way defenseman. He's just a pure offensive defenseman right now at the age he's at, and he will most likely be an offensive defenseman throughout most of his career. But let's move on towards something else, and we'll move on towards something a little bit more positive, I'll have to say. And we'll jump on the Vegas Golden Knights, another Pacific Division team, because I think this is another team that has been quite exciting this year. A team that Bruce Cassidy has just gotten tons out of, that Pete DeBoer, which honestly, great coaching change. Pete DeBoer was never the guy to coach this Vegas Golden Knights team with how much it changes. Bruce Cassidy is such a perfect coach for this team with the way that he's been able to pull more out of Jack Eichel. Oh, who knew? Jack Eichel's good? Say what?
Yeah.
Mark Stone's been looking really good this year. You're having William Karlsson have a great year this year, which William Karlsson struggled last year. He's having a really good year alongside Smith and Marchessault. Their depth is looking not bad. Nicholas Waugh is looking amazing. Their defensive core is playing solid. And who knew that Logan Thompson and Aiden Hill would be above 940 save percentage? That's just insane.
Yeah. 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 That was what got me. I mean, I liked the team except for the goaltending. And before we go on, if you Vancouver fans, if you're listening right now, we said the same thing about the Oilers defense the last 2 years, and we're Oilers fans. We slammed them just as much as we're slamming Vancouver's defense right now. But okay, as far as DeBoer not being the guy, it was just a really tough situation last year.
Yeah, oh yeah.
DeBoer, I really can't put that
No.
on him. I don't know if Cassidy would have did any better, but when this Cassidy has shown. Look at the culture in that Boston Bruins room, right? That's Cassidy was part of that building of that culture. It also extends past that, but still, Cassidy was, and he's certainly bringing seems to be bringing that same sort of culture here to Vegas. And you and I both were on the side that Eichel was going to have a fantastic year this year. This is no surprise to me. I didn't know how the team would do with this goaltending.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, there were lots of games last year where Thompson looked really good.
Oh yeah, he was
then-
insane for some games. I just didn't think he was going to be this good for them.
No, I didn't know. I didn't think so either. But I did love their defense, and I did think that they had a strong team. So I had them in a playoff spot. But yeah, is the whole thing. I think we were both sort of saying, if goaltending is good, this team is a shoe-in.
Well, not even just that. Another guy that's kind of emerging out of the woodworks, Brett Howden, who is starting to kind of facilitate his play a little bit more. Whenever I watch their games, I'm just like, this guy continues to get better. Sure, he's not posting the greatest analytics in the world. He's okay defensively. But this year, he's starting to improve a little bit more in his game. I think with Brett Howden, you'll definitely be seeing him maybe be a slow developing third line center probably throughout his entire career, who starts improving himself more defensively. But you're getting some really good guys out of that depth area. I mean, Nicholas Waugh, I've been a big fan of. I love the contract that they locked him up to. He's just such an amazing offensive producer that he's just really great for the depth. But I've been a real big fan of Brett Howden. How you've been thinking about their kind of depth going on in Knights? Because that was my biggest worry coming into this upcoming season.
Well, Howden it's been simple. It's been off-season commitment. He's come into camp out of shape all the time. And maybe he finally woke up at 24 years old and decided he was going to be an NHL player. And if he has, he's going to be a good player. I mean, he's even got a lot of offensive upside. 6'3", 200 pounds. If he actually commits to it, he could be a really good player. He was a high draft pick by the New York Rangers, but just didn't seem to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As Tortorella would say about a lot of players that didn't work out for him, just didn't get it. But he has now, and the depth is like Nicholas Waugh. I wish he would play higher in the lineup as well. Like I really think, in all honesty, he's a better player than William Karlsson.
Oh, offensively, Nicholas Waugh has been amazing. Like, he's definitely not amazing defensively, but like even last year, I think that's why Waugh got a little bit more minutes last year when you did see him jump up into the second line. The guy is amazing offensively. He produces a lot. He does a lot for the team. It's almost like you wish there's a little bit more offense down the depth. I think William Karlsson's still a really, really good player. I still really like William Karlsson. He did have a little bit of a struggle in the season last year, and I think his finishing ability, it hasn't been great, but it's looking a lot better this year. I will have to say that he's starting to produce a lot more, starting to finish his opportunities, because last year he just was abysmal. Only 35 points in 67 games, wasn't producing a whole lot. So seeing him back up in that, that near point per game type of play is really good to see out of William Karlsson, because if he could continue to produce like that and play a really good two-way game, you can see William Karlsson just do amazing for the team. So this is a lot to like about this Vegas Golden Knights team. And not just that, they have a pretty good amount of a little bit of cap, especially with using it, all the LTIR. You save a little bit of money with the LTIR room, with Lehner being there, Patrick being there, and then also Shea Weber. So it's kind of exciting to see what they might be doing near deadline time as well. So we'll have to see what they'll be able to do. But this team could be a very scary team coming towards playoff time, especially if you could get Eichel and Mark Stone going, and even Chandler Stevenson going towards playoff time. And it'll be just in general a really exciting playoff team.
Yeah, and they've got good depth to come into the lineup too, and that's pretty amazing since they trade a lot of their picks away. Like their drafting and development system seems to be fantastic. I like Paul Cotter every time I saw him when he was in the ice. And Jake Lecherson, for a 23-year-old kid that is going to be a bottom six guy, he's certainly serviceable. So injuries can come up and they're okay. I just think that, and we haven't seen Phil Kessel really go off. He usually gets off to a slow start, and we'll probably see him put up some more points come down.
Yeah, even then, Phil Kessel just hasn't been playing a whole lot of minutes, kind of compared to what he has in the past years with Arizona. He's been kind of given a little bit of a laid back approach, but his finishing ability has been that amazing over the past few years. And so I think that's probably a reason why maybe his offense will kind of dwindle down a little bit this year, and we'll only see 30, 40 points this upcoming season. But I feel like maybe Phil Kessel will sooner or later pick it up. We always love Phil the Thrill here. He's always an amazing character, and we always love to see him out on the ice. And I guess we haven't really talked about it, but he's the Iron Man streak. He broke it a while ago.
Yes.
So absolutely congrats to that man, because this guy is an absolute fucking warrior. For you guys who don't know, Phil Kessel actually survived through cancer, like way, way back when he first started his career, got cancer, and then just survived and played the unhealthiest, somehow in the most shape motherfucker alive, and has been having an illustrious career playing over 1,215 games. It's just incredible what Phil Kessel's been able to do throughout his entire career.
And his fitness matrix every year are off the charts amazing, which he's just naturally fit. It's sick. Anyways,
I know he'll eat hot dogs all summer and then come in the camp fit.
That hot dog thing was made by Simmons, by the way. It was not even true.
Oh, really?
It's all
did Phil Kessel just make a meme out of it when he put all the hot dogs in the Stanley Cup?
He's just a lot. Phil Kessel. Brian Burke said about Phil Kessel. He said Phil Kessel couldn't give a rat's ass what people thought of him outside of the room. He laughs at people. You can believe whatever you want. He does not care at all.
That's why we all love Phil here.
He only cares about people in the room. I love Phil Kessel for that reason. He's like, you want to believe that shit? I don't care.
I just love thinking he can scarf down hot. Simmons, we don't even want to talk about Simmons, man. He's such a
little
dick.
Simmons, you listen to what he says? Can't stand it.
Simmons is the worst. He actually got into a fight with Simmons way back. I don't know if you've seen it, but he got in a little bit of a scuffle with Simmons. We won't go into too much of it because Simmons is an absolute D-bag.
Yeah, I shouldn't even be saying his name because that's how he gets paid. Is he says stupid stuff. I shouldn't even be saying his name.
No.
Anyways, go ahead
All right,
next.
let's move on towards the Blue Jackets, the sucky Blue Jackets, and whoo they are stinky. I don't understand like the moves that they made. It's kind of quite mind-boggling with Johnny Gaudreau. I don't know why he went to Columbus or what kind of started that, and then defensively what they were thinking with the defensive core with picking up Gabranson and kind of shelling themselves in with big money paying Gabranson. I thought it was 3 million. I was dreaming about him being paid only 3 million, not 4 million. That's even worse now.
Yeah.
But this team is just not going very well. You know, you're having Kent Johnson who's
Oh,
producing not bad, Johnny Gaudreau who's getting a little bit of points, but the rest of the team is not looking great right now. It really isn't. There's not a whole lot of other guys that you're looking at and you're like, yeah, they're not terrible. Like even Cole Sillinger is struggling to get points right now for the Columbus Blue Jackets. There's just a lot going on. Their goaltending, who knew that Elvis Merzlikins was bad? You know, I mean, no shit with the defense core being that bad, but there's just so many poor mistakes here by Kakalainen. And do you think it's like ownership that pushed them to try this year, or do they think that Ken Johnson and Cole Sillinger were ready to go? Or I don't know. Like what were you thinking with this team?
well, they were just trying to get big names into Columbus to get fans in. I don't think that Kekalainen's is a brilliant dude. I don't think he ever thought that this team is going to come close to the playoffs. But you got to have a name. You know, you bring in, basically, this team has no pushback whatsoever. And most of that is the fact that their bottom six is like way too young. Shinnikov, Sillinger, Ken Johnson, Foodie, like these guys can't keep up physically with the players out there every night. There's just no way. It's not even fair to even expect them to. It's ridiculous. So, um, yeah, I don't think I really took that into account before the season started as much as I probably should have. But once you watch them, you're like, oh man, these guys are in trouble. This is bottom of the league stuff with all the teams getting better, like Detroit and Ottawa, like getting all the players that they did. And you know, Islanders are looking better than we anticipated. Philadelphia is looking better than this team is could be bottom of the league,
And we
close to
weren't
the
even
bottom five.
talking about the Blue Jackets being bottom of the league. I thought they were going to be okay this upcoming season because I was expecting Ken
Yeah.
Johnson and Cole Sillinger to really pop off this upcoming season. Their top six to do a lot better than what they're doing. Like Line, I mean, he's a little injured right now, but no goals in his 4 games that he's played. Um, I I didn't,
He's always
but
injured
like the
though.
thing
He's
is, like
always
when I seen Line got signed, it's like if I were to get Johnny Gaudreau, do you think you would keep Patrick Line on the team? If you were to look back
um,
at the team and you were to like sign Johnny Gaudreau, would you keep Patrick Line on the team, or would you try to get rid of him to pick up maybe a defenseman or maybe a center or something in that sorts?
I would have traded him anyways because after he came, I took a really good watch after he left Winnipeg because of all the stuff he said on the way out, and I wanted to see how much this was a reflection of what he was as his character or what Winnipeg was. And I think it was a little bit of both, a lot of both actually. And then when he went to Columbus and he starts uh, publicly slamming Tortorella while he was on the team, I don't want this guy on my team. Forget about it. And now when you watch him, he doesn't look like he even cares if the team wins. All he cares about is if he can score that game. That's it. So no way I would, to answer your question, no way I would have signed Patrick Laine. Um, Goudreau, I mean, that's easy to say. Like, I don't have an ownership group saying we need to get some names in here to start selling tickets or we're in big trouble. I think, yeah, then you got to hopefully sign Goudreau, and you're not signing Goudreau if you don't sign Patrick Laine. So I think Kekalainen was in a difficult situation where he's doing something and going, this isn't going to work, and I know it, so I just got to work with
Well,
it.
especially since they already had Voracek still on contract, like they still have him on contract for the next little bit, this year and next year. So you're still paying him 8 mil. You're putting yourself in a very sticky situation cap wise, where even if you do suck major ass this year, you're not going to be able to really do too much next year because the cap's only going to be moving up by a mil or two. So you're not going to be really able to do too much with this team cap wise coming into the upcoming season. And like it's you're just really putting yourself in a sticky situation. Quite honestly, if I was the Blue Jackets right now, just tank for Bedard, tank for Bedard,
Yeah.
Michkov, and those guys. Hope that you maybe get one of them, and maybe try to get rid of Line, because you got three great players, and Bedard, Fantelli, and Michkov. Those two guys are looking amazing. Trade away Nyquist, trade away Garakovo, trade away Corpusalo. Try to trade away whoever you could trade away and just try to pick up as much picks as you can
Yeah.
into this upcoming free agency. Sure, that might piss off Johnny Gaudreau, but in the end, you're trying to make the team better, and
Well,
your team
you
sucks.
got him now, so
Your team
you got
sucks.
him now, so he's there now, so he's gonna have to live with it. But I wanted to mention, even when you look at him on the ice, he like this is a guy that seems to wear his emotions on his sleeve, and he looks like a guy that's like really going, "What did I just do? What did I just do?" I mean, this team is not going to be a cup team probably for 4 to 5 years. Maybe. I mean, I like Kent Johnson. Maybe 4 years from now, I like Shinnikov. I like a lot of their young guys,
They're just not ready.
but
They're just not
they're
ready.
not ready. And you don't really have anybody on this team to mold these guys. Like they need to get some older veteran guys that can teach how to compete. And that is not Patrick Laine. Okay. Maybe Goudreau, yeah, but he can't do it all. Like this and Boone Jenner, I mean, he's been there forever and there's still, but they need a lot more guys here that need learn how to compete. And it's not good. I don't mind the Goudreau signing, I guess, but they even went as far as to get Eric. It looks like they even bought Eric Goodbranson to bring him in. Man, they sold everything to get Goudreau.
Yeah, I think it almost would have been better if they just continued to suck and get the younger players and make a name for themselves. Like, I understand
Mm-hmm.
wanting to get tickets and get, great players and all this crap, but like, Gabranson was just pure stupid. That was just pure stupid. Getting a guy that is right now playing like 18 minutes per game and you're paying him $4 million to really just hit and block shots, which is exactly what he's doing. But like, you don't need to pay a guy like that amount of money to
Oh
be on
yeah.
your team and have to pay him $4 million. It's not worth it. It's not a good idea, and especially at a 4-year deal, it was brain dead and stupid, and just not a great move by the Columbus Blue Jackets. And even their goaltending, like locking up Merzlikins as well. Merzlikins has showed some promise here and there, but I've
Mhm.
always been kind of worried about Merzlikins on if he's gonna be that actual guy, and it's gonna be crazy. And so I'm actually looking back at some of my old comments on the episode that I made when I was reviewed the team, and talking about a lot of the fans saying, that you set him up for, for some future success. And one guy was like, from Rob Green, he was commenting on the video. He was like, based on a recent podcast, sounds like there was a bidding war for Gabranson. And even if you're hearing a bidding war for Gabranson, you just get the fuck out of there, man. You just leave. You abandon that ship. And talking about how it was originally like a 4 mil 3-year deal, then it got pushed up to that. And talking about how they need a nice, strong defenseman to help with their decor. You don't need Gabranson to help with your own decor. He's not going to help. Simply put as that, he's not going to be the guy that helps your decor develop at all.
The good news is, if there was a bidding war, there might be general managers out there stupid enough to take them. So
I mean,
that's the
who
good news.
knows? Let's move on to the next one here. A team that we actually got to watch last night as the Oilers went up against the Preds. We'll talk a little bit about the Preds now as well for
Yeah.
like the next 10 minutes here, because this was a team that me and you, Perlo, were really hyped up on. We were really excited about
Mhm.
this team into this upcoming season. I was like, this team is going to be a playoff team. This is going to be a top 2 team. If they get coached really well, they're just going to have a really good season. I like the Neo Niederreiter pickup, who Neo Niederreiter is still looking pretty good, but they are not looking good to start this season up. They are struggling defensively, struggling offensively. UC Saros is not playing amazing right now. He had a rough game against the Oilers. What do you think about this team and like what's going on?
Well, like last year, these guys played like warriors every game
Hmm.
almost, and um, now hindsight's 2020. Looking back on it and looking forward, I said all year, there's no way they're going to be able to keep this up. Like you can't play like that for 82 games. It's not. I mean, it's just highly unlikely you can play like that for 82 games and have anything left come playoff time. They didn't. And I never really thought about it, but most of these guys had never played like that before.
Yeah.
Like that, like Matt Duchene, even the veterans, and certainly a lot of the young players. Like Tanner Jeannot was a freaking beast last year. Um, and I think they looked ahead to the season and they remember the pain of an 82 game season playing like that. And I just don't think they
And
have
they're a
it in them.
physical team. They hit a lot. Like they are hitting and banging a lot. And then not just that, like Tomasino is not even up on the main roster this year. He was down in the AHL right now. He was a guy who got them 40 points last year, was a big second line guy. He's not even in the lineup this year, which is just mind boggling to say the least.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. Can't really say. He must. I can only think that he came in figuring he had a spot and didn't do what he needed to do over the summer or something like that, and he's getting a bit of a punishment right now.
Just like, but playing over guys like Cole Smith and Michael McCarron
Mhm.
and Kiefer Sherwood and these guys who were just absolutely moronic who were playing last night, I can't believe that. I, s-
What's Michael McCarron doing in the
I don't
NHL
know, man.
roster?
He's a fucking goon. I think that's the only reason why. And defensively, like you would think they would massively improve with Ryan McDonough and that defense core with Ekholm and Yossi and Carrier and Fabro, but no, they are struggling massively to start the season off. And in the division that they're in right now, a lot of teams are struggling in that central division, so they can rebound a little bit right now, but it's not looking too optimistic here for the Preds. You could see like the
No.
Blues, the Wild, even the Avs have been off to a little bit of slow starts to start off the season, so you could totally see themselves turn around. But I guess we're really gonna have to see. Almost every team is kind of even hard to make a power rankings because almost every team has identical records. It's quite funny. Like there's a lot of teams that are just in that middle pack right now, and you really don't know who's gonna emerge out of it. What's really gonna happen? I think this next month here in November is gonna be a really big month of what's gonna dictate almost the rest of the season. It feels like with the way that teams are playing out right now.
Yeah, it's watching them. It's just not the
No.
same. Like they're not playing with the same bite as they did last year. And I think really maybe we got to look at it and realize or admit that this team was Juicy Sorrows last year,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
and Soros has got played to death, and now he's looking like a guy. He's not really playing at his best, and I don't think this team has a chance if he's not. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. That's what I've really
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to here. Juicy Saros, it was this team, and Juicy Saros was the team for the most part last year, and he's not what he was last year, and this team can't
No.
compensate for that.
So I think we'll move towards something else, and we'll move in the last topic of the podcast here before we move on to the power rankings. Now, my man Pearlo will not be involved in the power rankings. I'll be doing that at the end of the video after we talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is, of course, always a big talking point in the NHL, and especially right
Yeah.
now. They're a massive talking point in the NHL, and I think this would be a perfect way to end off the podcast because this team is in some serious trouble right now. They're having, their two big
Mhm.
stars in Marner, Matthews, not, big. They're producing, but they're not, Matthews not scoring the big goals that he needs to. Marner got benched the other night by Keefe. Marner did praise Keefe a little bit, but I don't know. It seemed like Marner still seemed a little ticked off. He was just saying that to the media because, of course, if you say something to the media saying that you hate your coach, of course, all the media members are really just going to hype that up and try to turn the words on Marner. Samsonov's looking good, I will say that, but the defensive core is struggling right now. They got Justin Hall playing, third most minutes out of their defensive core. What's going on in Leafland?
Um, well, we had a situation where Keith came out and said a few things about his top stars not being there and stuff like that, and then comes
Yeah,
back the next
backs up,
day and retracts his
which
comments.
makes no sense.
Um, no, it doesn't make any sense at all. And the whole Marner, I really do think Marner was having a hissy fit because of his own play. I don't think it was because he was benched so much
Yeah,
as was because of his own play. However, that's not an attitude that really helps out the team.
no,
You
doesn't.
know, that's a pretty selfish attitude. It affects the energy on the bench and all that kind of stuff like that. You take your benching, you go out there and you play hard, whatever the case may be. Now, if you ask Sheldon Keefe, he's going to say, I want my players to want to play and be unhappy with themselves and stuff like that. He's going to say all those things, but that's not the way to do it, man. Like, it's just not the
No,
way
it's
to
not
do
a
it.
great
So,
example to lead, especially when you got a young team as it is. You want to, as Marner or Matthews, you want to start becoming leaders and show Robertson or Sandine or any of those younger guys that are stepping on the roster how to act if you do end up getting benched and you're not able to go right back out there and play.
right. And this has been something that I've said about Toronto for a very long time. And I still think it even looks like it applies more this year, is that the upper brass, and I think like above Shanahan and all of that, this is a sponsor corporate team.
Mm-hmm.
And they see things from a completely different perspective that is not what is good for the team in
Yeah,
hockey. And they're shaking in their boots that they're going to lose to Austin Matthews after this year, or after, when is it,
I think
2024?
so. Yeah.
They're shaking in their boots that they're going to lose that because he is money for them. And it just seems like they are putting pressure on all the brass to tiptoe around anything that's going to make Marner or Matthews or somebody want to leave. And in doing so, they might actually leave. You know what I mean? Like, they're babying the shit out of these guys. Just flat out and say it. They're babying the shit out of these guys. You can say whichever. I didn't think Babcock was the greatest, was an overrated coach. But Babcock said things the way, was not afraid to say crap about his whatever player it was that he thought it was crap about. He thought this needed to be a heavier game and that this team needed to be able to have a backbone.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Say whichever you want about him as a coach overall in his career. That's exactly right. This team has no backbone. Marner having a hissy fit in the freaking because he got benched. Coaches retracting their statements that are accurate. All of this crap is what messes up, I believe, this organization and has been for years. It's constant.
Well, especially when you retract it, like your team lost the Arizona Coyotes, your stars weren't playing like stars, and then you come right back out there and retract it. It's like, dude, you did lose
Publicly.
to a shitty ass team. Like, I don't think you should retract that comment. You lost to a team that sucks. Your stars didn't play like stars. They didn't play good enough. They need to play a lot better than what they are, and simply put it as that. And retracting it is just ideally not a good look for the team either. So it's rough what's going on in Leafland. Matthews is not scoring the goals he needs to score. He needs to be a big time producer. And you could talk about the depth not producing enough either, but this is the team that Dubas made. You look at that depth. Who's going to score fucking goals down there? I know people are riding Engvall's ass, but Pierre Engvall was never meant to be an offensive producer. I don't know where people got this agenda from just because he produced 30, 40 points last year. He's a third liner. He's only going to be producing that amount of points. Sure, not getting any points in the first 9 games or only 1 goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure, that's bad. But where are you going to pass to? Kelly Yarncrook? He's not a big goal scorer. Zach Ashen-Reese? He never scored goals. He was only really a defensive player. David Kemp, same with him. Malgin's really been never known to be a big offensive producer in the NHL. Ub Kubel, Kyle Clifford, Like, why Wayne Simmons? These guys are not point producers for you. Why do you think that calling them
Why
up or
why
using them
is
is gonna get you goals?
why was Nicholas Robertson scratched, by the way?
I have no idea. I don't think he should be. He's a player that they should definitely be playing, but it looks like he's scratched for this upcoming game tonight,
Yeah,
which shouldn't.
so I'm thinking it's because he physically just can't. He's only 162 pounds soaking wet. I mean, it's going to be tough for him in the
Well,
league, and
especially going up
I
against the
would say no.
Tortorella team tonight as well.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, that's what I think the issue is. And like you said, yeah, their defense on paper is with, you know, Justin Hole playing all those minutes. It's But I think they just have no backbone, and that's really the problem. The team is confused. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention one more thing about what he said there when he retracted his statement. He also said that he went in the room and kind of apologized for what he said, and then he said that all the players didn't know what he was talking about, which makes sense because what he said is just a normal thing that all coaches say. But here's the other thing I read between the lines on that. That does not sound like something that he did on his own.
He just told it to the media.
I believe he was told to retract the statement publicly.
Oh man.
That's what because even the way he said it, he looked awkward. He looked everything, and he said, "Oh, the players didn't even know." So he was almost calling out his own retractment at the same time as he was saying it. So that tells me that it's up above them. Somebody called down and said, "What are you saying crap about Matthews and Marner for? We need to keep these guys. I don't want them feeling bad about themselves about this or anything like that." I swear to God, that's what's happening in Toronto. And because of that, this team has no backbone.
It's crazy what's going on in Leafland right now. This team really needs to turn it around. Honestly, we've been hearing Barry Trotz rumors. It's been so funny from the Leafs people, like, oh, Barry Trotz bought a condo in Toronto per source. It's like, dude, and then like some like verified guy like retweets like, yo, Barry Trotz to the Leafs. I'm like, dude, you just got baited to a fake tweet. Who knows if Barry Trotz will really be the guy. I think Sheldon Keefe is not the guy for the Leafs right now. He showed over the past few years that he has not been the guy fit enough for the job. I think he's done good. He's done a lot of good things, but this year it just seems to be kind of unfolding right now for the Leafs. And this is his last contracted year for the Toronto. Or no, he has 2 more years. Never mind. He just started his new contract this year. So I don't know if Keefe will be able to last through it. I think they need a veteran coach. Keefe is a young guy. I think they need somebody that is just a different mindset, somebody that I think will stand up, and I think that will be Barry Trotz. I think Barry Trotz has always been that kind of way where he will just stick it to his own gun and be like, hey, I think this is, what we should be doing, or tell him what's right. Like, hey, you need to play a lot better or sit on the bench or you're going to play less minutes and we're going to play this type of formula, type of play. And I think Barry Trotz would be a perfect coach for this Maple Leafs team and would really help them be that way. Now, if they're going to do that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Barry Trotz would work out well because he doesn't call out his players publicly anyways.
No.
And I think he'd be able to balance whatever is being said. For the most part in Toronto, I think as a coach, you just got to give stock answers and work and move your
Well,
and
you know
move
what?
on.
Keefe
And
could have
I think
done
Barry Trotz,
with that All-Star thing. He shouldn't have said anything. He should have just said, yeah, my players didn't play very well last night. Instead of saying that
that's right.
statement that he said, he should have went into the back locker room and tell them,
Yeah.
guys, you didn't play like fucking stars last night. Arizona
Yeah.
Coyotes did, but you guys didn't.
That's right. And you don't need to say it publicly.
You don't need to stay in public,
And I think,
especially
and
when you're
maybe,
in the Leafs.
especially when you're the Leafs, and maybe that's pretty much what it is. But then you can't retract the statement at the same time.
No.
So, but that's what if a coach does blunder like that, unfortunately, you have this brass up there that is way too. And you know what? I think it may extend into the room though, because if he is talking stuff, and one of the players goes, "I don't like the way Keefe is talking about me," they will attack. The brass will call the manager and say, "Will you tell keep the layoff of Matthews. We need this guy, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. That is where I think the real problem is in the Toronto Maple Leafs organization.
I agree. There's a lot of things that need to be changed up in Leafs land. It's not going very well for them, and hopefully they'll be able to turn it around. I think they will. It's just going to be a slow start this year for the Leafs, but they will slowly turn it around. But definitely not the year to start blundering it up because, I mean, you got the Bruins you're popping off, Panthers, Sabres, Lightning. I mean, the Sens and Red Wings not looking too great, but you got a lot of great teams up in that top four, so it's definitely not a year to start off slow. But thank you very much, Pearlo, for joining on for episode 5 of the Payton on the Radio podcast. Would you like to shout out any links or anything that you like to shout out there, Pearlo?
Yeah, I am a professional handicapper, up over 600 units in the last 2 years. This year, I've been actually not hitting it out of the park completely, but it's the first 10 games of the season.
Yeah, it's a slow start.
If you're anywhere around even, as a professional handicapper, you're doing well the first 10 games this season. This is a time when we are about to go
Ooh, baby.
off. It's going to get green in BPAL land. And you can be part of it. BPALpicks.com. Go to the BPALpicks.com website. Promo code Payton1515. And I'll give you $25 off your monthly fee as long as you are in there. Not the first month. Every single month you will receive $25 a month off, and that will be the case as long as you are part of BPAL. Also, Pearlo, my YouTube channel, my NHL Pearls of Wisdom. I don't even know my own YouTube channel. I am 20 shy of 1,000. And it's a big day in YouTuber land when we hit a G.
Oh, yeah.
And you can help us out. Hit that 1,000 and we'll have a big party.
Big party.
Probably during an Edmonton Oilers live broadcast that we will be doing on a regular basis. So follow Payton, follow me, and be part of the frolic, my friend.
Yeah, come and join along. Enjoy BPAL Picks. All the links will be down in the description. So make sure to go check out Pearlo Wisdom. He's 20 subscribers away from hitting 1,000. So go check him out. Links will be down in the description below. Thank you very much for joining on again. That was a lot of fun. And now let's head off to the power rankings and go over the top 16, which a lot of things have changed in the power rankings. A lot of teams moved up. A lot of teams moved down. And it looks like the Leafs might have fallen out of the top 16, so let's get into that. Hey there, guys. Welcome back. And we're going to be getting into the power rankings for this upcoming week. Now, I know we just made a podcast episode just a few days ago, so there shouldn't be a lot of movement, but there was actually a decent amount of movement, and that's kind of expected, especially with the start of the season. There'll probably be a whole lot of movement, a lot of teams moving around. We definitely seen that in this update of the power rankings. A lot of people moved in, so a lot of people got their first time into the power rankings. A lot of teams fell out. A few teams that we're going to be talking about that fell out: St. Louis Blues. They just continue to have those, those blues. They're having those, the early season blues where they're just not playing very well. They're right now having 5 in a row losses. They lost to the Canadiens and then also the Los Angeles Kings just the other night. So they continue to struggle. They're not playing too well. They are going up against the New York Islanders today as well. So we'll have to see how well they do going into that upcoming game. But they really need to bounce back. Other teams that did fall out of the spots, Ottawa Senators, they've also been struggling in the first little bit. They were off to a quick hot start, but have really struggled. And Toronto, probably one of the higher teams that fell out. They're up at number 9 at the old power rankings. They totally fell out as well. The Maple Leafs have just not been looking good. Keefe has just not been the guy. For some reason in this game that's going on right now between the Flyers and the Leafs, for some reason was throwing out Justin Hall out there for the power play, which is absolutely mind-boggling. The team is in 4-row losses. They lost to the Ducks and the Kings during that back-to-back, and they also lost against the Sharks, so you can see why the Leafs are falling down out of the rankings, because quite honestly, they suck, and they're not playing very well. So let's get into the top 16. At number 16 still is the Philadelphia Flyers, a team that is still putting up a respectable record, still playing really good hockey. I've been really enjoying what the Flyers have been able to do. Like I said, is this something that's maintainable? No, they did lose against the Rangers the other night and the Hurricanes. They will probably lose the spot, especially if they do lose against the Leafs. Most likely the Flyers will fall out of this spot and some other team will emerge into that 16 spot. So this most likely might be the last time that we will be seeing the Philadelphia Flyers be in this spot. So don't be surprised if in the next episode of the podcast we really see the Flyers fall out of that spot. Team that moved into the power rankings for the first time. Up at number 15, we got the New York Islanders, who have just been playing really, really good. They're right now off 4 in a row victories, beating both Colorado Avalanche, Hurricanes, and the Rangers, all in pretty good fashion as well. They're getting some really good play out of Barzal, Nelson, Lee, Walsham's been looking really good, and of course Yorkin and Semyon Varlamov playing really good. I thought the Islanders were not going to play that great this upcoming season, but they're really proving us wrong this year. They're really playing a good game. They're playing hard. There's just a lot of good things going on with the Islanders right now that are making me pretty impressed with the team. So that's why they get up at 15th. And in 14th, the team that has fallen the most is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They fell down 8 spots. And they lost last night again against the Boston Bruins. The Penguins just continue to struggle. They continue to get these early season struggles. They could even be lower than what they are. They're right now on a 5-game losing streak as well, losing to the likes of the Flames, the Flames, Oilers, Canucks, and Kraken, then losing against the Bruins. They've been on a lot of road games, and they still got a lot of road games upcoming. So that road trip between Oilers and the Calgary, that was a rough road trip for them, to say the least. So they're definitely going to look to rebound, but they have been really struggling, and they could potentially fall out of the power rankings, to be quite honest. And then one team moved up by 1, and that was the Washington Capitals. They moved up to 13th from 14th. They're a team that got a few W's just recently, starting to play a little bit better. They got the Detroit Red Wings coming out. They did lose 2 in a row against the Knights and the Hurricanes, but they did beat the Preds on the 29th. So they are starting to, play not terrible, but definitely not amazing. So we'll have to see how well they'll continue to do, but they're at number 13. And at number 12, we got the Buffalo Sabres, who continue to just absolutely dominate and to continue to play really, really good hockey. They're 6-3 right now. They beat the Red Wings and the Blackhawks before we got into this. Now, I know those are not the biggest wins in the world. They're going up against the Penguins tonight, so we'll have to see how well they do against that team, which right now they're not looking too terribly bad, as they are down 2-0, sadly, as I did put a bet on them as well, so that kind of is a big bummer. But the Sabres have been looking really good. They've been playing really hard, and is the reason why I threw them up in the power rankings. Now, you could say, oh, well, they beat weak teams. They shouldn't be that high, but they're playing really good hockey. They beat the Red Wings, which I would say is a pretty tough team to beat. They beat the Canucks, Flames. They also beat the Oilers to start off the season, so they've been going up against some pretty tough teams, and they've been able to come out on the better hand. Next up, we got the Florida Panthers, who moved down by 1. They're at 11th. Florida Panthers has been looking okay this year, but they just, been off to a little bit of a slower start offensively. You definitely would think they would do a little bit better offensively. They did lose to Arizona, which I was thinking if they do lose to Arizona, that I might bump them back, but we're going to keep them up at this spot. They've had a few rough games the past 4 games, using the Blackhawks, Flyers, and Coyotes, all teams they should definitely be beating, but they are not. So hopefully the Panthers will be able to turn around, especially with the Sharks and Kings and Ducks all coming up. They got a California trip coming up, so it's going to be a tough road trip, but I think the Panthers hopefully will come out better, and that's the reason why they're staying at 11th. Next up, we got the New Jersey Devils, who are at number 10 in the power rankings. Another team that has been looking really, really good. Just continues to pick up W's. They beat the Canucks just really recently. They have 4 in a row wins right now, being the teams of Red Wings, Avalanche, just a 1-0 victory against the Avs too. So they've been able to show that they've been able to play really well defensively, and not just that, really well offensively as well. Their goaltenders haven't been too strong in both Blackwood and Venasek, but their offensive core and defense have been stepping up massively and playing really, really good for the team. So Marino, what a great pickup, and Bratton, Heischer, and Hughes all having great starts this upcoming season. They've been looking amazing. And then Colorado Avalanche are taking number 9. The reason why, and they moved down 2 spots as well. They were 7th last time. They have been struggling over the past little bit. Injuries have been hitting them a little hard. They lost to the Devils and the Islanders fairly recently, and games that they definitely should have won. But I think they'll jump right back up. They've been a little bit, off to a little bit of a rough start, but I think they will start to slowly turn things around here, which is the reason why they're still so high up on the power rankings. Another team that did fall down a few rankings is the Calgary Flames. They're right now at number 8. They fell down 4 spots. Last week they were at 4th. The Flames, they took a huge loss to the Seattle Kraken very recently and have not been playing too great, losing to both the likes of the Oilers and the Kraken fairly recently. Just not playing their best game right now, and they need to play a lot better. Players like Huberdeau haven't been producing a whole lot. Same with Lindholm. Their goaltending has just been very okay. But there's just a lot of things when you're having Brett Ritchie as your 4th goal scorer on the team, leading you in points, and you don't have Mangiapane producing, Huberdeau, and some other guys producing. You need to have those guys if you want to be successful right now. So definitely need to see a lot more out of those guys moving forward. So we'll have to see how well they do against the Nashville Predators. And at number 7, we got the Tampa Bay Lightning, who moved up 6 spots into that spot. They were originally at number 13, so they moved all the way up to 7th. They've been doing really good. They've been starting to get some heat going with the team out of the late and starting to really gain some momentum. Even though they don't even have Victor Hedman in the lineup, they right now have 3 in a row wins, being the Ducks, Sharks, and Senators. They do got some big games coming up, though, with the Hurricanes, Sabres, and Oilers, so those are going to be some tough opposition there for the Tampa Bay Lightning, so I'm excited to see how well they'll do. But players like Kucherov, Stamkos, and Point they've been absolutely amazing. You know, some of their depth guys have been really good as well, and Vasilevsky has been playing okay for them. He's just been okay. Moving on, we got the New York Rangers, who also moved up 5 spots up to 6th. A team that moved up a lot and have been just looking really good over the last few games. They've also been gaining some momentum, winning some big games. They beat the Pittsburgh and the Flyers just the other night. The Arizona Coyotes they also beat. They got beat also the Dallas Stars in a pretty good game as well, where they just beat them up offensively. Panarin has just had a great start of the season. Shesterkin starting to turn things around a little bit since having a little bit of a rough start. The Rangers are starting to look pretty good and starting to play really good as well. The Dallas Stars, they're up at number 5 still. They're staying at that spot. A team that I've been kind of a fan of to start the season off. Jake Gonder's been looking really good. Their top 6 has just been producing a lot of big points. They just beat the LA Kings, and they've just been playing really well. The Stars have been a team that I've been really enjoying watching, and they've been playing really well, being the Kings. And they did lose to the Rangers, but even then they didn't play that bad of a game, and I think they deserve to be up at number 5. Next up, we got the Edmonton Oilers, who moved up quite a bit, replacing the Calgary Flames at that spot. They got up to 4th in the spot and moved up 4 spots from 8th. So the Edmonton Oilers, they've just been incredible over the past few games. McDavid is just on a crazy pace this year. 11 goals in 10 games, 22 points. Drysdale has been incredible. You got Zach Hyman, Evander Kane getting a hattie just the other night. Skinner playing amazing alongside of Campbell, just being all right. But the Edmonton Oilers are on a 5-game winning streak, and they are just getting hot every single game. They've been looking really good, playing really well offensively. There's just a lot of things to like about what the Edmonton Oilers are doing. And then, of course, the top 3 stays the same with Carolina, Vegas, and Boston at number 1. Nothing's really changed there. I've been loving what the Knights and Bruins have been able to do. Marchand coming back in the lineup for the Bruins has been just incredible. Marchand already thrown up 4 points in 2 games. Lindholm playing absolutely incredible for them. There's just a lot of good things going on in Boston right now, and that's the same goes with Vegas and Carolina. They're not as great, but I still think they're a pretty good team. They've been playing really well and got 2 big wins against both the Flyers and the Capitals just recently, and we'll have to see how well they do against the Lightning, Sabres, and the Leafs as well. See if they'll be able to stay up in that top 3 and see if that will be changing at all. But there's your power rankings for this upcoming week there, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. We had Pearlo Wisdom join us, and it was a lot of fun, so I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast and all that. It was a lot of fun to make and a lot of fun to do. It was just a really fun episode to be able to chill and talk hockey with Pearlo, and I hope you guys enjoyed the power rankings. Let me guys know what you guys would think about the power rankings in any different ways. Would you move up a team? Would you move down a team? Would you insert a team into this different top 16? But right now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you very much for tuning into the podcast. Go check it out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. It'll be very much appreciated there, guys, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.